Neil deGrasse Tyson, a name synonymous with astrophysics and science communication. Known for his ability to make complex cosmic concepts accessible and engaging, Tyson has inspired millions to look up at the stars with wonder. Today, we count down the top 10 thought-provoking moments from this legendary scientist. Number 10. Have you ever wondered what would happen if the Earth stopped spinning? Neil explains just how devastating it could be if the Earth stopped spinning for just 1 second.
Suddenly stopped rotating? I think that happens in the Bible, where the sun stops in the sky. That would mean the Earth stopped rotating, okay? If that happened, anything not nailed to Earth's surface will fall over and roll due east at like 800 miles an hour, at least at this latitude. Right? At the equator, it'd be like 1,000 miles an hour. And the Atlantic Ocean would slosh up onto Europe and Africa. The Pacific Ocean would slosh up onto North America and South America, and billions of people would die. This is what happened in the movie Superman. Do you remember 1978 Superman? He slows down the rotation of the Earth. It stops. Then and then time goes backwards, which of course is just BS, but I'll give it to him because he's Superman. And then, had he done that, all this to save Lois, right? If he did that, oh my gosh, that's the end of civilization.
Just to pull Lois out of a ditch.
Just to pull Lois out of a freaking ditch.
Coming in at number 9, Neil discusses the eerie possibility that we may all be living in a simulation, and what we see may not be real at all.
I'm waiting for someone to convince me that we don't live in a simulation.
I've heard you say it.
The arguments put forth have been quite convincing to me. And most of the best arguments are traceable to a guy named Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at the University of Oxford.
Okay.
Here's the argument. Ready?
Go ahead.
Our computing power is growing rapidly.
Right.
We create simulations of worlds. We have video games with characters that are inside the video game.
Right.
Imagine a day where you can simulate a world so perfectly with life forms, humans, so well that you can recreate every single neurosynaptic thought you could have, but now you're in the simulation on the computer.
So,
including the perception of free will.
Well, there you have it. Because so now you would have enough computing power to imbue the Sims inside of the program with all of the human traits that we possess now.
Correct. Not only our human traits, but the world.
But the world.
The world itself.
Right.
And you don't have to have all the world existing there at all times.
Right.
That might be an unrealistic amount of computing power.
Right.
You just need
enough of the world that they see around them.
That they see around them.
Right.
So you want to start digging, and
that's so funny.
And haven't put the Earth there. There's a flag that goes up in the programmer, and they say, need more Earth. So they put Earth beneath you while you can keep digging.
It's like the Truman Show.
So now that world evolves, and they develop computing power.
Right.
And they say, we want to play video games.
So now we're going to make a world.
So then they make a world, and they have sufficient computing power that they invent to create a whole universe within their computers.
Okay.
And then
they make a world.
And then they make a world all the way on down.
Right.
It could be hundreds, thousands, billions, infinite.
All right. So far, this sounds like it still works.
That's fine. So now close your eyes, throw a dart. Which of these universes are you going to land in? The first one that's real, or the gazillion that are not?
Well, yeah.
Just statistically.
At number 8, Tyson explores the dynamic relationship between science and culture, illustrating how each shapes the other over time and the negative consequences associated with misinterpreting science.
Infrastructure after a flood, it's $4, but the difference is the $1 in the front end is private money. The $4 on the back end is taxpayer money.
Not only that, if you prevent it from happening forever in the future, then it's nobody's money.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
On that level.
Yes, but people aren't necessarily adding thoughtfulness to their calculation, because thoughtfulness isn't what shareholders are looking for, and it's not what voters look for.
That is the unraveling of an informed democracy. And
say that one more time.
If you have people deciding based on fringe information, then that is, and making policy based on it, yes, it is the unraveling of an informed democracy. And I fear for the future of this country as a leader of the world, which that's the country I grew up in.
Right.
We led the world. We were the first. Here's what the science is doing.
So there are some people, and by the way, you can tweet Neil deGrasse, and you should. He's an avid.
Neil Tyson.
I'm sorry, Neil Tyson is right. Right. Okay. And one of the things that people will say is this the moment in which to have this conversation about climate science?
Yeah, it should have happened 10 years ago, but sure.
Right.
Now is fine.
Have you ever experienced déjà vu, the Mandela effect, or other similar phenomena? At number 7, Tyson explains the potential for the existence of multiple universes. Could they be the cause?
Let's go back in time when the whole universe was the size of a particle. What are the rules of quantum physics telling us? They're telling us that multiple universes could be popping in and out of existence. And we are just one of them.
Gotcha.
Each one with a slightly different law of physics.
Okay.
So, let's start there. So now, there's no limit on how many of these universes there could be. Let's say there's infinite.
Okay.
If there's an infinite, that means there's every possible combination of all particles there ever were.
Right.
Including combinations of particles with you on another universe, on a podcast where you have an evil mustache. Well, you already have a mustache.
I already have an
evil goatee. Well, you already
I already have an evil goatee. Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
there's the nice Chuck.
Right, I was going to say,
clean-shaven
Chuck.
Nice Chuck
Right, exactly.
in the other universe.
Right. And he's still a virgin, by the way.
Right. So, it's been hypothesized that every version of you exists.
Virgin nice Chuck.
Every version.
Every version.
So you only happen to be in the one version that you are in.
Right.
So here's what I would say.
Go ahead.
People like thinking about this as a means of immortality.
True.
However, why would this Chuck, with all your atoms in this way, have any consciousness overlap with the Chuck in the other universe?
None.
There's no reason to be.
Coming in at number 6, Tyson stresses the importance of scientific literacy, highlighting how it empowers individuals to make informed decisions and fosters innovation.
Go play where
I
you
don't want
live.
to be that old man. And so you just said, yeah, discoveries are happening too quickly for us. Let me perhaps get you out of the old man syndrome and say, maybe it's not that discoveries are happening too quickly, because my kids are not complaining about being overwhelmed by data. All right, it's older folk who come from an era where there wasn't that much data. Maybe what you want to say is, we need tandem educational curricula so that we understand how the world works, rather than just be fed volumes of science information, thinking that's what makes you scientifically literate. When the real source of science literacy is not what you know, but how you think about the world. Is that fair?
That's exactly right. So the whole model of education as information transfer makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
At number 5, Neil gives his take on Pluto as part of our solar system. Where do you stand on the Pluto debate? Is a planet, a dwarf, or something else? Let us know in the comments.
One, when we're talking about planetoids and planets, the idea about Pluto is that Pluto's part of the Kuiper Belt, right?
It's the first and currently known largest member of the Kuiper Belt. And it makes sense. You know, we didn't even know the Kuiper Belt existed in 1930.
Yeah.
So for us, it's just the 9th planet. But it's the tiniest and the littlest, and it's got a weird orbit that crosses the orbit of other planets, and that's a little weird, but we'll grandfather it in. Okay, Pluto. And then, wait a minute, you have brethren. In the 1990s, we discovered other objects out there with similar orbits to Pluto. So maybe Pluto is not the 9th planet. It's the first object in a new swath of real estate discovered in the outer solar system called the Kuiper Belt. And that's where it stands right now.
What about these fascinating ideas of colonizing Mars? Is it even possible? Should it be done at all? At number 4, Neil shares his thoughts on whether colonization of Mars will occur.
I think it won't happen just because people want to. I think if it happens, it'll be because there's a geopolitical force operating that will require it of one country relative to another. So I joke about this, but if China leaked a memo, the memo doesn't even have to be true, leaked a memo that said, we want to put military bases on Mars, we're going to have we're going to have people on Mars in 10 months. 1 month to design, build, and fund the spacecraft, and 9 months to get there. Since we'll set up a Starbucks and a McDonald's. So that's how we got to the moon in the first place, even though our cleansed memory of that period tells us, oh, we're explorers, we're discoverers, and we have a charismatic president who, it's like, oh, by the way, kill the commies.
Yeah, it was the Cold War, yeah.
Wrote the checks over that period. So I don't see it happening anytime soon unless there's a geopolitical reason to do it.
Well,
but we'll continue to send rovers, for sure.
Do you think there might be an economic reason to do it, though? There's the idea of...
Not to do it first, no.
Aliens. Are they real? Are they here on Earth? Tyson gives his thoughts on the existence of extraterrestrial life, and it may shock you.
Is there anyone else out there, Professor?
Anyone, you mean just life at all?
Yes.
Probably. We are made of the most common ingredients in the universe. Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, iron. This stuff is everywhere in the universe. Life on Earth was opportunistic. It didn't take the rare ingredients and figure out what it could do, the most common ingredients. And life started almost as quickly as it possibly could have. And we're just one planet out of 8, get over it, 8 planets, one star among hundreds of billions in a galaxy among hundreds of billions. To suggest that we are alone in the universe would be inexcusably egocentric, driven by some philosophy that is not grounded in observational.
And finally, what if the Earth were to end tomorrow? Is this scientifically possible? Tyson gives his perspective on the end of the world and the timeline involved.
How long have we got here?
Yeah, well, there are some ideas about that because we still don't know enough about the forces that will end it all. Oh, sorry. We might have 100 years on Earth.
What?
At the rate we're going.
Really?
No, sorry. There's Earth issues that require geopolitical solutions.
Self-harm.
Okay, correct. And then there's the universe, the death of the sun, the collision of the Milky Way galaxy with the Andromeda galaxy, and possibly the Big Rip.
How would the sun die?
Oh, the sun, like any star, it will run out of fuel in its core, and it starts changing. It starts bloating and getting so large that it will engulf the orbit of Mercury and Venus and come very close to Earth. So imagine looking on the horizon and sunrise is half the sky. Okay, that would be terrifying.
Is this even starting to happen?
No, not yet. No, we have another several billion years. So no, if you're going to prioritize...
Well, that's all right. That's a dropped intro, isn't it?
If you're
you could have said that to start with.
What you're worried about. Yeah, let that one go. All right, but...
Neil deGrasse Tyson continues to ignite curiosity and passion for science. His thought-provoking insights not only educate, but also inspire us to explore the unknown. Which of these moments resonated with you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more captivating content.